in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to have you with us today. Our guest speaker, Sheri Amatenstein, is a New York City-based therapist. She is the author of the Q&A dating book, Lessons From Bad Breakups, and The Complete Marriage. She is a longtime journalist and runs relationship seminars nationwide. Today, Sheri will discuss the number one goal she hears from patients: I just want to be happy. She will dispel the most common myths believed about happiness and will share how she helps people understand, accept, and cope with all life circumstances. She will also have a great deal of time for your questions. Welcome, Sheri. We're very pleased to have you with us today.
I'm very happy to be with you today.
Excellent. Go ahead and get started with your talk.
Yes, hi. So I decided that I would do the webinar on the topic of seeking happiness and why that's not always a great idea, because this really is something that comes up all the time with my patients. Everyone just comes in and says, I want to be happy. And then I say, what does that mean? And they're not really sure what that even means. They just know that they don't feel they're where they want to be. And that feeling of restlessness and unhappiness is something that rules them. So I say, well, let's first talk about what does it mean? If you're seeking something, let's look at it concretely. And we talk about it. And does happiness just mean that you're not miserable? And then we look at it further, because not being miserable is more like existing, a flatness. And then I say happiness is not something that comes and then lasts forever. Feelings ebb and flow. It's like if you're in the river, the waves go up and down. I talk about remembrance of being on a train once in Thailand, and all of a sudden the train is whizzing by and there's this gorgeous scene outside the window, and I just wish we could freeze in it because I feel such joy. And the joy just suffuses me, it fills me, but then the train moves and we're not there anymore. So it really taught me something, like, let me just feel this feeling that bubbles up in me in the moment. Let me be able to close my eyes and remember what that felt like and use that in later times when I'm not so happy. And it also taught me that I can't always control a situation. I wanted the train to stay frozen at that particular point where I had this magical view, but it didn't. So when I was able to let go and not need to control that, it just opened up so many new portals in me. So happiness is not something that you reach and that you stay at, but it's something that you can experience in moments. And it's also very helpful when you don't need to keep that feeling, or when you're not feeling it, when you're just not in this crazed journey to feel it again. So I'm going to move on to the second point, the trap of I will be happy when. And this is something that is always coming up. So many people say to me, oh, I'll be happy when I achieve this. I'll be happy when, this person in my life is not so miserable anymore. I'll be happy when this. I'll be happy when that. And I'm always seeing that's external validation. That's looking for something outside yourself to make you feel good about yourself. That's not going to last. When someone wins an Oscar, a Pulitzer Prize, some wonderful prize, as Sally Field said that time, oh, you like me, you really like me. It feels great in that moment, but it's not going to last if that wonderful feeling that you feel, thinking that, oh my goodness, others really want me, because that feeling is not going to last. You're just going to need more and more and more. Happiness is feeling good about yourself, comes from the inside out. And that's why goal achievement is not the key to self-worth. And another thing that I often help my patients realize is, why is being happy the be-all and come-all of everything? There are not that many moments in life when we feel that magical sense of, oh my God, I'm at one with everything and this feels wonderful. We would be cutting off most of our life if we were just searching for that feeling. It's the journey of life and the not being afraid to feel emotions other than happiness that are so important to enjoying our lives. So moving on to the next slide. It's impossible to buy happiness, and this is another trap of external validation, needing other people to feel about you the way you want them to. And that emotional void can't be filled with another person. It can't be filled with things. And a lot of people who develop shopping addictions, gambling addictions, whatever, it's because all of a sudden, like, um, you win the lottery, or, you have all four, you love playing a slot machine and it all comes up, the four apples or whatever it is. It feels great in that moment. You buy those shoes, feels great in that moment. That feeling is not a real feeling. It's not going to last, and you're going to need more and more. So you really have to start, again, to do what we started talking about a little bit earlier. Understand that we can't control other things that are happening in our lives. We can't control other people. We can't always control our emotions. But we can control how we deal with our emotions. And when we accept that our emotions are a kaleidoscope and we can own them versus needing to constantly procure more and more possessions, we will enjoy our lives so much more. And that really is more important than this elusive concept of lasting happiness. So the next slide is, sorry, I just went to the wrong one. That whole pursuit of happiness versus meaning. So what we've been talking about is happiness is a fleeting emotion. It's not this fixed state that we reach and then we stay in. And if all we're looking at is, oh my God, I felt happy once 6 months ago for a second, I have to get there again. And that's all that we're about. We wake up and we take our emotional temperature and say, oh my God, I'm not happy. I have to get there again. I have to feel happy. I have to feel happy. That's a pretty miserable way to live. And a lot of research just show that what really creates enjoyment in our life is not the pursuing of that fleeting emotion, those moments of joy, but knowing that the way we're living our life, what we're doing with our life, the people in our life, is what feels good. Satisfaction and meaning. You may not wake up every morning feeling joyous, but what you're working at, even if it's taking care of someone who you love, if it's working at a job that you enjoy, if you're in a volunteer pursuit that you enjoy, it's doing things that make you feel good about yourself, that you're adding something to the world, that you're meaning something to other people. Those are the things that overall are much more important than just trying to find and keep happiness. And certainly when someone has a mental illness, and bipolar is a very difficult mental illness and to have to live with, and it's better with meds, but then when you're on meds, you don't like the flatness, and you feel bad about yourself, and why am I like this, and you just keep attacking yourself for having bipolar. It is an illness. When we have a physical condition, let's say we break our arm and we have a cast, people sign the cast. It's something that people can see. Or if you have cancer and then you're having treatments for that, people say, oh, poor you, what can I do? I feel so bad. But really, bipolar, mental illness, it's not your fault that you have this. What you can do is deal with it as best as you can. Hopefully, take your meds, but say, I am who I am. And yes, I have something difficult that I have to deal with, but I like who I am. And the struggles that I have make me accept myself even more because I don't have it easy. I have it hard, but I'm here and I'm not giving up and I'm doing the best I can. And I'm forgiving myself for not always being in a great place. And again, part of bipolar, part of mental illness, when your thoughts wander and you get lost in your head. And that's part of what therapy, hopefully the meds, can help you with. Take a breath and say, no, let me go back to the moment. Let me just be in my life. And that's something that I say to patients all the time. When you can be in the moment, when you can uh, talk to the person who you're with instead of being in your head and wanting them to say things other than what they're saying, that's just so helpful. Being in the moment means looking at the sun or feeling the rain or the chair that I'm sitting on right now. That's a real thing. I have a puppy on my lap. That's a real thing. The stuff in my head is not real. So take a breath, go back to the moment, go back to reality. A lot of times I tell people to put on a rubber band, and when you feel your thoughts going all over the place, snap it and say no. Let me just go back to reality. Emotions, again, for all of us, whether we struggle with mental illness or not, they ebb and flow. It's not a fixed point. Allow that in yourself. Be kind to yourself. It's kind of a matter of be kind to yourself, but also tough on yourself in the sense that I need to take my meds. I need to know when I'm in a bad place and reach out for help. I need to do these cognitive things to be back in the moment, to remind myself that a lot of what's going on is not real. It's just things that I'm manufacturing because I'm used to doing that. So be kind in that, you're doing, you have issues to deal with. That's okay. But work on handling those issues as best as you can. But again, bipolar is an illness. It's no more your fault than somebody who is having open heart surgery because they have a heart that's not working properly. So I'm looking at the last slide now, which is happiness RX for those who are living with or are very close to a family member or a good friend who has bipolar. And it's very, very important to not let that person's illness and their ups and downs rule your life. Again, it is an illness. It's not their fault that they have this. But even though it's not their fault, it's very difficult for you as well. So you have to set boundaries. If they're calling you all the time at 2 a.m. or if they're doing all these things that don't feel fair to you, then you have the right and you should say, no, I'm here for this, I'm not here for that. You have to take care of yourself. The first rule of caretaking is that if you don't take care of yourself, you're not able to take care of anybody else. Along with setting boundaries for yourself, when you see that your loved one is in trouble, you really, really need to encourage them to get help. You are not their psychiatrist. You are not their therapist. You are somebody who loves and cares a great deal about this person, but they have to help themselves. You can't do it for them. So you can help them find a doctor, encourage them to take their meds, for them to do all the things that they need to do and be firm about that, but you cannot do it for them. And you need to find your support yourself. You need to have people to talk to. If you have a therapist, great. If you have a support group, great. You need to be able to go off and go to the movies. You need to do what you need to do. If you're not taking care of yourself and freshen yourself, But if you're codependent and making your whole life and how you feel about yourself in your life all about how this person who is battling this illness is doing and feeling and being, that's not helpful for you. And if it's not helpful for them, it certainly is not going to be helpful for you either. So it's not selfish to focus on your needs and interests. It's imperative for you to focus on your needs and interests. So, summing up, happiness is not this arcane concept with when I reach it, I'm going to feel that way. I'm never going to feel sad again. I'm never going to be manic again. Life is just always going to feel like a rainbow. That's not how life is. Life is experiential. It's a journey. We find joy in moments, and then hopefully we can be able to soak in those moments and use them to feel better about ourselves and to remind ourselves about when we're in a bad place. So hopefully we can do that. But life is better if we are about looking out for ourselves, finding meaning, things that we enjoy doing in our lives. It's not we are not our illness. We are not the person in our life who has an illness. We are not our feelings. We don't want to get caught up in that bubble of I will be happy when, or just needing to feel happy, or needing people to feel a certain way about us. So we want to take care of ourselves. By taking care of yourself, you're taking care of the people in your life. And this goes for everybody too. When your feelings are shifting and all over the place, take a breath and say, I am feeling this way right now. It's not always. Like when I was on that train in Thailand and I had that joyous scene and I wanted to stay, I had no control over that. The train moved on. I could not control that. I could spend the next hour of the train ride being miserable because we weren't on that glorious scene, or I could just move on with it and have that light touch in life. And just as when we're feeling sad or when we're feeling, anxious or manic or whatever, remind yourself, this is this moment too. I've been through a lot of these moments. This is not forever. Gain strength from all the things that you've gone through in your life and that you continue to go through in your life. So happiness is a great concept, but owning your feelings, understanding and being kind to yourself, and realizing that life is a journey and we want to do the best we can at owning our emotions and taking care of ourselves when we need to. Those are some of the things that are very important and helpful in our lives. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be, very happy to answer questions.
Great, thank you, Sheri. We do have the first question. Can you talk to us about happiness as an absence of struggle and stress versus the presence of positive emotion? When I say to someone, I just want to be happy, what I want most of all is a sense of calm.
Yes, and it's when your feelings are tumultuous and all over the place, it's very, very difficult. It's very, very, very stressful, and it's not easy, and it's exhausting. So I think those are the times when you really need to take care of yourself when you're in that place, because it is when you have that emotional storm and things are so chaotic. Yeah, you're all over the map. You're very stressed, and also the body, the physical and the emotional work together. So when you're emotionally chaotic, your body is also in a bad state. So I think when you're in those times, take breaths, eat well, exercise, reach out to other people, definitely reach out for support, and say, I really need to be taking care of myself now. I can't take on other responsibilities. This really is not feeling good, and I let me just ride with it. And by riding with it, it means do the things that help you. Some people find writing really, really therapeutic when they're in those periods, writing down those feelings. What helps you feel good even in the short term that takes you out of that? Listening to music, taking a walk, know yourself and know what helps you. And again, if you're really in a bad place, you definitely need to be seeking help. But I guess, calm is perhaps the opposite of chaotic feelings. Uh, Happiness is, I kind of feel like it's more this connectedness within yourself and with the world. It's like a spiritual thing. I think different people, and that's another reason why I think it's helpful to define happiness for yourself and to realize happiness is not the main thing that I need to seek. What I need to seek is being able to ride out the bad times easier and give myself as many good times as I can. And when I am in the bad times, to remind myself this is not everything. Let me do all the things that I know that help me and have them on hand. Because I think also when we're in this very anxious, chaotic state, we tend to forget all the resources and supports that help us. So I think it's really helpful. Have them out, have them listed, have them where you can see them so that you can start going to them when you find yourself in a bad place. Catch it as early as you can, because when you catch it and you're already in the eye of the hurricane, it's really hard to find shelter. But when you start, feeling that inside yourself, say, wait, take a breath. I know it's starting. What can I do to calm myself?
Great, thank you for that answer. The next question. At times, I'm surrounded by self centered people that insist on having their way, which dismisses my rights to be happy. How can I stop them from harming me?
And you can't stop other people from being them. The only thing that we have control over is ourselves and our emotions and how we are around people. And if that kind of thing is happening to you a lot, then you have to ask yourself, why am I in this pattern of always being around self-centered people who are trying to gobble me up? Did that start in childhood? A lot of times we keep repeating these patterns that we're just so used to having, and we even seek it out on an unconscious level. So I think you need to ask yourself, wait, why is this always happening to me? And then take a breath and say, I know this started when I was like a kid, but I'm not a kid anymore. And then when people keep asking you to do things, take that breath and say, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. So you are the one who has to set the boundaries. They're going to be and do who they are. They're going to just be their own selves. And there's a concept called homeostasis where everybody in a family has a role. And if your role has always been the do-gooder, the caretaker, the one who everybody leans on, the one who nobody's ever saying, what could I do to help you? Then it's time, they're happy in that role. They want to keep it. You're the one who wants to change. So, and this is a process. It's sort of like you have to say, I am going to be acting differently now because I've been looking at what I've been doing, and no, I can't run over and, babysit at the drop of a hat. You're going to have to ask me a day in advance. No, I can't do this. No, I can't do that. And hey, it would be nice if you asked me what was happening for me also. And in the beginning, they're all going to do all the manipulations that they're used to doing to get you back into the place that they're comfortable having you at. So you're the one who has to stand firm and say to yourself and to them, sorry, but I can't do that. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. And if it's hard for you to accept, I think I'm just going to get off the phone right now, and then we'll talk another time.
Great, thank you. The next question. You mentioned that the thoughts in our heads are not real and to potentially get away from them. I'd like to share a quote and ask for your thoughts. This is from Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. It says, "Of course it's not, it is happening inside your head, Harry, but why on earth should that mean that it is not real?"
And I love Harry Potter, and I love the whole magical world that it conjures up. But I think, and that's why I use the concept of reality test. When you have a thought like, nobody likes me, I'm so stupid, that kind of thing. All these self-defeating thoughts that feed in and keep making you unhappy, which to me, I think we're talking about really hating ourselves and not liking ourselves. Um, that's kind of when you want to like take a breath and say, wait, that's not truth. That's just what I tell myself. How did I get all A's in school if I'm so stupid? I mean, so there are, on some level, the thoughts that we have feed off each other, and they can become self-fulfilling prophecies if we keep just attacking ourselves to ourselves. But we live on this planet, not in Harry Potter's magical one. And I think that we should all use whatever helps us to feel the best we can about ourselves. And not in a way of not being realistic. Like, I know at this stage, look, I'm never going to win anything in the Olympics. Okay, I accept that about myself. I accept that I'm not that great technologically. I had to have Debbie Brown give me a lot of help in just setting up for this seminar. But okay, those are things that I'm not that great at. That's real. And I can tell myself I'm not so good at technology, and that's truth. But if I attack myself, oh my God, what a terrible, stupid person I am because I'm not good at technology, that's a whole other thing. Then I am making myself feel bad about something, and that's not helpful.
Great, thank you. The next question is, how do I talk to others in order to share with them how to support me in being happy when I'm not doing a good job of it myself?
Okay, and these are great questions. I think it's always great to reach for support, but you also want to reach for support to supportive people, because there are people who they say that they want the best for you, but if they're downgrading you, if they're infantilizing you, if they're buying into your negative concepts of yourself, they're not really helping you. But if you could, say to somebody, look, when I start putting myself down, can you do me a favor and say, hey, stop that. You're a really good person. Or, remind me that listening to, Beethoven or, me when I'm in a bad place, I'd really appreciate it. So it's about being able to start recognizing what helps you, asking people who are capable of and really want to help you to do that for you. And also recognize the people who really can't. And the more you can eliminate people who really are toxic, that's also a really helpful thing to do to you. That's a loving thing to do for yourself.
Excellent, thank you. The next question is meditation. And do you happen to know, or can you give me a reference to online apps or somewhere to go to find a good meditation routine, as I've heard that this is very helpful?
Offhand, I'm really not sure. I'm actually just looking stuff up right now while we're talking, but I think that that's an excellent. It's definitely an excellent thing to do. I mean, because what we were talking about earlier in terms of when you go to a bad place, take a breath and say no. That is a form of meditation that's really what it's all about. I mean, meditation can just be, um, some people, meditation is kind of about really being in a moment. Like when you're focused totally on what it is you're doing. For some people, it's when they're playing tennis. For some people, it's when they're watching a movie that they love, reading Harry Potter, whatever, just breathing and going back to the breath, staring at a candle, all those things are meditative, and it's a lifetime of practice to be able to try to empty your mind. Like, I always love books by Pema Chodron. And there is like a mindful meditation app at mindful.org, which people have told me is very, very helpful. So that's one place to start, perhaps. And there's I think Headspace is another good guided meditation. So yeah, so that's an app that's called Headspace.
Excellent, thank you. Well, it looks like at this point that is all the questions that we have. I am happy to take additional questions via my email at dbrown@ibpf.org. And if Sheri would kindly answer those, if you happen to think of something after the fact. Just
Sure.
want to remind everyone that this webinar was recorded or is being recorded and will be archived on our website to share with others, or just to head back to it to review what Sheri has shared with us today. Thank you so much for giving your time and expertise to us, and everyone have a wonderful day.
Thank you for having me.